People don't really know me, and that's by design.
Who is this person, the Sean Combs, that we don't know?
We have yet to find out.
Right.
You have to come along for the ride.
Well, boy.
You have to come. I mean, that's the whole part of the journey. That's the whole part of entertainment. I mean, you don't rock with a brother for like going on 20 years and stop now. You got to see this movie all the way through, baby.
Boy, oh boy.
Believe me, I got an action-packed ending for you.
So Diddy just showed up thinking this was just another hearing in the books. But the second the judge started reading the decision, he snapped. And I'm talking full meltdown. Witnesses said he was yelling, slamming the table, pacing like he couldn't sit still. One court clerk literally said it was like he couldn't believe it was actually happening. And get this, the judge didn't even raise their voice. They stayed calm with it, just read the ruling and set the restrictions. That's what hit Diddy the hardest. No special treatment, no deals under the table, just straight up, this is what it is. That silence in the courtroom, it was loud. People inside said he started panicking. Security even got a little tense, not because he was violent, but because they didn't know what he was gonna do next. One reporter said Diddy looked like he aged 10 years in 5 minutes. That's how heavy it hit. And listen, we're gonna get into why this hearing was different, why this particular moment had him breaking down like that. Here's the buildup. Legal walls closing in. People flipping, allegations stacking up. This wasn't just about one charge, it was the feeling that the entire house of cards was about to come crashing down. So yeah, if you saw headlines saying Diddy had an outburst in court, trust me, they're downplaying it. It wasn't just an outburst. It was the moment he realized this might actually be the end of the game. Let me break it down from the top, step by step, how we even got here, who was in the room, and why the judge's sentence hit him that hard.
When the verdict was read, Combs got down on his knees and he began to pray, his children clapping, everyone overcome with emotion on his defense team, even one of his attorneys, Teddy Garagos, starting to cry.
So, picture this. The courtroom is packed, the media, victims, old associates, even people who used to roll with Diddy but distanced themselves the second all this heat came down. And Diddy walks in and the vibe, way off. People there said it was like watching a completely different person. One reporter said he looked smaller, and they weren't talking about his height, it was like the weight of everything finally hit him. All the lawsuits, the testimonies, the videos that allegedly leaked, the feds closing in, this wasn't just another court appearance. This was serious. And the room itself, dead silent when he entered. No one dared whisper. You could literally feel people holding their breath. Some victims had tears in their eyes just from seeing him again, while others sat there with their arms crossed like they were ready for whatever was about to go down. That tension was thick. And once the judge came in, you could tell everyone knew this wasn't going to be some quick slap on the wrist. People wanted justice. And Diddy? He looked like he finally realized that might be exactly what he was about to get. Now, before we even talk about the sentence itself, let's break down this weird back and forth with the sentencing dates. Because it got confusing real quick. At first, the date was locked for October 3rd. Then, out of nowhere, it gets moved up to September 22nd. Everyone's like, wait, why so early? And just when people start prepping for that date, it gets pushed back to October 3rd. Again, like, what? Here's the deal. Diddy's legal team wanted things to move faster. They figured maybe if they wrap this up quickly, it'd work in their favor. Less media buildup, less time for more evidence to surface, and maybe, just maybe, Diddy could start serving time and knock some of it off early with credit for time served. But the prosecutors weren't having it. They told the court they needed more time to finish the pre-sentencing report. And if you're not familiar with what that is, it's basically a full deep dive into the defendant's life. Not just the crimes, but everything. Family, work history, finances, even psychological evaluation. They also interview people close to him, friends, ex-employees, even therapists or rehab counselors if any were involved, because that report helps the judge figure out the right sentence. It's not just about the charges, it's about who the person is behind the charges. So yeah, that report needed time, and the court agreed with prosecutors. They pushed it back to make sure they had the full picture before dropping the hammer.
A U.S. judge denied Sean Diddy Combs' request to be released from jail yesterday ahead of his sentencing. This after the music mogul was cleared of and racketeering charges that could have put him behind bars for life, but he was found guilty of lesser prostitution-related offences.
Now let's talk real numbers, because this is where things got serious. Prosecutors were asking for 51 to 63 months behind bars. That's just over 4 to 5 years. But Diddy's team wanted the sentence way down, 21 to 27 months, basically 2 years, and that's before you subtract time served. Remember, Diddy's already been locked up since September, so depending on what sentence he got, that time would count. If the judge gave him something closer to what his team wanted, he might have walked free in less than a year. But here's the part that really mattered: the max sentence for each count was 10 years. And depending on how the judge wanted to play it, they could stack those charges back to back. So yeah, there was a real chance this could have gone from a few years to a full decade per count. That's why people in the courtroom were sitting so still. Nobody knew which way it was gonna go. Not even Diddy, and the look on his face? Yeah, he knew it too. Now, here's where things really took a turn, and not in a small way. The courtroom wasn't just about sentencing. It became a full-blown reveal of Diddy's darkest secrets. We're talking about first-hand testimonies from people who were actually there. Assistants, employees, former associates. These weren't just rumors anymore. These were real stories told under oath, and they shook that room to the core. One former assistant told the court how they were woken up in the middle of the night, not for work, but to destroy evidence, get rid of files, and make sure nothing could be traced. They described it like cleaning up a crime scene, but digital. Then there were the allegations of freak-offs. Prosecutors didn't hold back. They described how young women were allegedly flown in from different states with private jets and everything for what they called exclusive events. But these weren't music videos or industry parties. They were reportedly situations where those women were manipulated, or worse, for Diddy's private use. One victim broke their NDA just to testify, and that's important because breaking an NDA usually comes with legal risk. But some people said they didn't care anymore. They just wanted the truth out. The stories weren't vague either. They named locations, they recalled dates, they gave exact details of how things were cleaned up afterward, drug paraphernalia removed, phones confiscated, and assistants paid extra for silence. Then came the recordings. The prosecutors played actual audio recordings, and that's when the entire mood in the courtroom flipped. One clip allegedly had Diddy shouting commands, demanding silence, and threatening people who messed up. People in the gallery said it didn't even sound like him. It was cold. And that's when even folks who had been skeptical started realizing this was no longer about protecting a celebrity brand. This was about exposing a system. Then came the moment everyone was waiting. After hours of statements and witness testimonies, the judge leaned forward and said it clearly with straight facts: "You are hereby sentenced to 35 years in federal prison." And that was it. The air was sucked from the room. You could feel everyone stop breathing for a second. But Diddy, he completely lost it. His voice echoed in the courtroom. It wasn't the calm, collected Diddy people were used to seeing on red carpets. This was a man watching his entire empire crumble in seconds. Security moved fast. They surrounded him, trying to calm him. He was shaking his head, pointing fingers, yelling about conspiracies. Meanwhile, the judge kept banging the gavel, trying to restore order. But for a good minute, it was pure chaos. And let's be clear, this wasn't an over-the-top drama. Reporters inside confirmed it. Some said it was one of the most emotional breakdowns they'd ever seen in a federal courtroom. The crowd had gathered early. Victims, media, former collaborators, fans, even random people just curious to see what would happen. And when sentencing fell, reaction was immediate. Some people started cheering. You could hear the claps echoing down the block. Others were crying, especially those who had come to support the victims. There were signs, chants, and full-blown media chaos. Every major outlet had cameras up, reporters talking live, trying to capture the emotion of the moment. But here's where it really hits. Within hours, Diddy's world started collapsing.
Breaking news right now on ABC News Live. A jury has reached a partial verdict in the racketeering trial of Sean Diddy Combs. A note sent to the judge saying that the jury is unable to reach a verdict on the racketeering conspiracy count, adding that there are, quote, unpersuadable opinions, both prosecutors and the defense agreeing with the judge's plans to instruct the jury to continue deliberations, and the next steps are apparently being debated right now.
So yeah, just when you think the courtroom drama is over, another lawsuit shows up out of nowhere. An anonymous male accuser filed a brand new civil suit claiming Diddy took him to some shady warehouse in LA back in 2020. And this was no casual hangout. According to the suit, people were doing drugs, things got physical, and yeah, it got ugly real fast. What makes this even stranger is what was in that warehouse. The guy claims it had personal stuff that once belonged to Biggie, yep, the notorious B.I.G. So now people are asking, was Diddy using Biggie's legacy as bait? Like, was he trying to impress people with that old school clout just to get them comfortable before things spiraled? And let's not forget, this lawsuit isn't random. It's hitting right after that courtroom meltdown. Diddy's lawyers, they've got until July 30th to make their next move. That means filing motions either to ask for a brand new trial or try to reduce that 35-year sentence. But let's be honest, after the way he lost it in court, screaming and slamming tables, that outburst didn't help him one bit. And yeah, his team can argue all day that the punishment's too harsh or that some evidence shouldn't count or whatever, but 35 years? That doesn't come out of thin air. That's the kind of sentence that says the court believed what it heard. So now it's up to the judge to decide if any of that motion stuff is even worth considering. But from what we saw, not looking great for Diddy. He went from music mogul to courtroom meltdown in seconds, and the law doesn't usually reward that. But what do you guys think? Leave your thoughts in the comments and subscribe for more videos.